Imagine a single facility producing over 3 billion mealworms every single month. That is not science fiction. That is the reality of modern insect farming happening right now across the United States and around the world. These tiny larvae, each no bigger than a grain of rice, are transforming the future of sustainable protein production for both animal feed and human consumption. How do farms breed billions of these insects in climate-controlled warehouses? What do mealworms eat to grow so rapidly? And why are major food companies and agricultural corporations investing millions of dollars into this unusual form of farming? Welcome to AgriCraft, where we explore the most innovative and fascinating agricultural technologies shaping American farming and global food systems. Today we take you inside the remarkable world of mealworm farming, from breeding colonies to processing plant, revealing every step of how this sustainable protein source moves from larvae to finished product. All will be revealed in this video. Mealworms are not actually worms at all. They are the larval stage of the darkling beetle, scientifically known as Tenebrio molitor. Humans have known about these insects for centuries, originally considering them pests in grain storage facilities. Farmers and millers would find them infesting flour and wheat stores, munching through valuable crops. But what was once seen as a problem has become a solution to one of the biggest challenges facing modern agriculture: how to produce enough protein to feed a growing global population without destroying the environment. Traditional livestock farming requires enormous amounts of land, water, and feed. Producing 1 kilogram of beef protein requires approximately 15,000 liters of water and generates significant greenhouse gas emissions. Chicken and pork are more efficient but still demand substantial resources. Mealworms, by contrast, require less than 1% of the land needed for cattle, use a fraction of the water, and produce minimal emissions. They convert feed into protein with exceptional efficiency, gaining weight rapidly while consuming agricultural byproducts that would otherwise go to waste. The European Union approved mealworms for human consumption in 2021. And several countries in Asia have eaten insects as traditional protein sources for generations. In the United States, the focus has primarily been on using mealworms for animal feed, particularly for poultry, fish, and exotic pets. However, human food applications are growing as food technology companies develop protein powders, snack foods, and pasta products made from processed mealworm flour. The global insect protein market was valued at approximately $400 million in 2023 and is projected to reach over $4 billion by 2030. North America accounts for a significant portion of this growth, with dozens of insect farming operations now established across the United States. Here is a fact that surprises most people. Mealworms are approximately 50% protein by dry weight, higher than beef, chicken, or fish. They also contain healthy fats, fiber, and essential minerals like iron and zinc. For animal feed manufacturers looking to reduce dependence on imported soy and fish meal, mealworms offer a domestic, sustainable alternative that can be produced year-round regardless of weather conditions. Now let us walk through exactly how modern farms raise billions of these insects using automated systems and carefully controlled environments. Every large-scale mealworm operation begins with breeding colonies of adult darkling beetles. These facilities look nothing like traditional farms. Instead of fields and barns, you find climate-controlled warehouses filled with rows upon rows of plastic trays stacked on industrial shelving units that stretch from floor to ceiling. The breeding process starts when mealworm larvae complete their life cycle and pupate, transforming into adult beetles over a period of 1 to 2 weeks. These beetles are black or dark brown, about 1 to 2 centimeters long, and unlike many insects, they cannot fly. The females live for approximately 2 to 3 months, and during that time each one lays between 200 and 500 tiny white eggs. Farmers maintain separate breeding rooms where thousands of adult beetles live together in shallow trays lined with a substrate of wheat-bran or oat flour. The beetles burrow into this substrate to lay their eggs, which are so small they look like specks of white powder barely visible to the naked eye. Temperature control is absolutely critical during this breeding stage. The ideal temperature for beetle reproduction is between 25 and 28 degrees Celsius, roughly 77 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. If the temperature drops too low, the beetles become sluggish and stop laying eggs. If it rises too high, stress levels increase and egg production declines. Humidity must also be carefully managed, maintained at around 60 to 70%. Too much moisture encourages mold growth that can destroy entire breeding colonies. Too little causes eggs to dry out and die before hatching. Modern facilities use automated climate control systems that monitor temperature and humidity every few minutes, adjusting heating, cooling, and ventilation to maintain optimal conditions 24 hours a day. These systems are similar to the environmental controls used in mushroom cultivation or indoor vertical farming operations. After the beetles lay their eggs in the substrate, farm workers or automated systems separate the eggs from the adult beetles. This happens because adult beetles will sometimes eat their own eggs if left together too long. The eggs remain in the wheat-bran substrate, which provides food for the newly hatched larvae. Within 10 to 14 days, the eggs hatch into tiny mealworm larvae, barely 1 millimeter long and nearly transparent. This is where the real growth begins. The newly hatched mealworm larvae are incredibly hungry. They immediately begin eating the wheat-bran substrate surrounding them, and they will spend the next 2 to 3 months doing almost nothing except eating and growing. Large-scale mealworm farms organize their operations like assembly lines, with different rooms or sections dedicated to different age groups of larvae. The youngest larvae start in smaller trays with fine substrate, while older, larger larvae move to bigger containers with more space and food. The primary feed for commercial mealworm farming consists of wheat-bran, the outer layer of wheat grain that is separated during flour milling. This agricultural byproduct is inexpensive, widely available, and provides the carbohydrates and fiber that mealworms need for rapid growth. Many farms supplement the wheat-bran with other ingredients to boost nutritional content and growth rates. Some operations add brewer's yeast for additional protein, ground corn for energy, or soybean meal to increase the protein content of the final product. Mealworms also need moisture, which farmers provide through fresh vegetables like carrots, potatoes, or cabbage. These vegetables supply water and additional nutrients while maintaining the humidity level in the trays. Feeding schedules vary depending on the size and age of the larvae. Younger mealworms receive fresh substrate every few days, while larger, older larvae might consume their body weight in food daily during peak growth periods. One of the most remarkable aspects of mealworm farming is the efficiency of space utilization. A single warehouse of 1,000 square meters, roughly 10,000 square feet, can house millions of mealworms in vertically stacked trays. Some of the largest facilities in the United States have tens of thousands of square meters of growing space, producing tons of live mealworms every single day. As the larvae grow, they undergo a process called molting, shedding their exoskeleton multiple times. Mealworms typically molt 10 to 20 times during their larval stage, and each time they emerge slightly larger. You can often see these shed skins, which look like empty translucent shells, mixed in with the substrate and frass, which is the term for insect waste or droppings. The larvae grow from 1 millimeter at hatching to approximately 2 to 3 centimeters in length over 8 to 10 weeks, increasing their weight by more than 4,000 times. This extraordinary growth rate is one reason why mealworms are so attractive for protein production. They reach harvest size in a fraction of the time required for chickens or pigs. Environmental conditions during the cultivation stage mirror those in the breeding rooms. Temperatures remain between 25 and 28 degrees Celsius, and humidity stays around 60 to 70%. Ventilation systems constantly circulate fresh air to prevent carbon dioxide buildup and remove ammonia from the frass. Modern facilities employ automated monitoring systems with sensors placed throughout the growing areas. These sensors track temperature, humidity, air quality, and even sound levels. Changes in the ambient noise can indicate stress in the colonies or potential problems with ventilation. Some of the most advanced operations use machine vision systems and artificial intelligence to monitor larval growth rates and health. Cameras capture images of the trays, and software analyzes larval size, color, and movement patterns to optimize feeding schedules and identify potential issues before they become serious problems. Harvesting mealworms is very different from harvesting traditional crops or livestock. The process must be carefully timed to ensure the larvae are at optimal size and nutritional content while still in their larval stage, before they begin to pupate and transform into beetles. At most commercial operations, harvesting happens continuously, with different batches of mealworms reaching maturity every day. This staggered production ensures a steady supply of finished product for customers. The first step in harvesting is separating the live mealworms from the substrate and frass in their growing trays. In smaller operations, this might be done manually using sifting screens with specific mesh sizes that allow the smaller substrate particles to fall through while retaining the larger larvae. Workers gently shake the trays over the screens, and the mealworms wriggle and move, eventually separating from the debris. However, in large industrial facilities producing millions or billions of mealworms, manual separation is impossible. These operations use automated sifting machines with rotating drums or vibrating screens. Conveyor belts move the trays to the separation equipment, which dumps the contents onto the screens. The machines operate continuously, processing thousands of kilograms of material every hour. After the initial separation, the mealworm still contains small amounts of substrate and shed exoskeletons. Additional cleaning stages use air blowers or vacuum systems to remove lightweight particles while the heavier mealworms remain on the collection surfaces. Quality inspection happens throughout the harvesting process. Workers or automated vision systems check for proper size, color, and vitality. Healthy mealworms should be golden brown to dark brown, active and wriggling, with no signs of disease or abnormal coloration. Any larvae that appear discolored, sluggish, or damaged are removed and discarded. The harvesting equipment moves the cleaned mealworms into collection bins or directly onto conveyor belts that transport them to the next stage of processing. Time is critical here because live mealworms continue to consume energy and lose moisture after harvest. Most facilities aim to move from harvest to processing within just a few hours. One interesting aspect of mealworm farming is that not all larvae are harvested for protein production. A percentage of each generation is allowed to pupate and become beetles, which then join the breeding colonies to maintain the population. This creates a continuous cycle where the farm is simultaneously breeding, growing, and harvesting different generations of insects at all times. The substrate and frass left over after harvesting do not go to waste. This material, often called frass, is rich in nitrogen and organic matter, making it valuable as organic fertilizer or soil amendment. Many mealworm farms sell their frass to vegetable growers, cannabis cultivators, or landscaping companies, creating an additional revenue stream while closing the loop on waste. Once harvested and cleaned, the live mealworms move to the processing plant, where they are transformed from living insects into stable protein products suitable for animal feed or human food. This is where industrial machines and automated systems take over, handling tons of material with speed and precision. The first critical step in processing is killing the mealworms humanely and quickly. The most common method in large-scale operations is blanching, where the insects are submerged in boiling water for several minutes. This process is similar to blanching vegetables before freezing. The high temperature kills the insects instantly, while also beginning to denature proteins and deactivate enzymes that could cause spoilage. Some facilities use alternative methods such as freezing, where the mealworms are rapidly frozen at temperatures below -20 degrees Celsius. Freezing puts the insects into a dormant state before death, and some argue this is more humane than heat treatment. Other operations use controlled atmosphere killing, exposing the insects to high concentrations of carbon dioxide, which causes them to lose consciousness before death. After killing, the next major step is drying or dehydration. Mealworms contain approximately 60 to 70% moisture when alive, and this water must be removed to create a shelf-stable product that will not spoil. Industrial dryers use hot air circulation, similar to the equipment used for drying herbs or pet food. The mealworms spread out on perforated trays or mesh conveyor belts that move slowly through large drying chambers. Hot air, typically between 50 and 70 degrees Celsius, flows through the chambers, evaporating moisture over several hours. The temperature and duration must be carefully controlled to remove water without damaging the proteins or causing excessive browning. Some advanced processing plants use freeze-drying instead of heat-drying. Freeze-drying preserves more of the original nutritional content and creates a lighter, more porous final product. However, the equipment is more expensive and the process takes longer. So freeze-drying is typically reserved for premium human food products rather than bulk animal feed. After drying, the mealworms contain only about 10 to 15% moisture and have transformed from soft, pliable larvae into hard, crunchy pieces that resemble small, dried pasta shapes. At this stage, they are shelf-stable and can be stored for months without refrigeration. For animal feed applications, the dried whole mealworms might be packaged as is, particularly for pet food, poultry treats, or feed for reptiles and birds kept by hobbyists. However, most large-scale production continues to further processing stages. Industrial milling equipment grinds the dried mealworms into powder or meal. This involves crushing machines, hammer mills, or grinding systems that reduce the insects to particles of specific sizes depending on the intended use. Fine powder is used for protein supplements and food ingredients, while coarser meal might go into animal feed formulations. The grinding process generates heat from friction, so cooling systems prevent the temperature from rising too high and damaging the proteins. Some facilities mill the mealworms while frozen or use cryogenic grinding with liquid nitrogen to maintain low temperatures throughout the process. After milling, the mealworm powder goes through additional quality control procedures. Laboratories test samples for protein content, fat content, moisture level, and microbial safety. Standards for human food applications are extremely strict, requiring testing for pathogens, heavy metals, and contaminants. Some processing plants extract oil from the mealworms before grinding. Mealworm oil is rich in omega fatty acids and has potential applications in cosmetics, animal feed, or as a cooking oil. The extraction process typically uses mechanical pressing or solvent extraction methods, similar to those used for vegetable oils. The remaining defatted mealworm meal after oil extraction has an even higher protein concentration, sometimes reaching 70 to 80% protein by dry weight. This ultra-high protein meal commands premium prices in the animal feed and human nutrition markets. Sterilization is another critical step for human food products. Even though the blanching or freezing process kills the live insects, additional treatment ensures complete elimination of any potential pathogens. Common sterilization methods include pasteurization, where the dried or ground product is heated to specific temperatures for defined time periods, or irradiation, where the product is exposed to gamma rays or electron beams that destroy microorganisms without significantly heating the product. Throughout the processing plant, hygiene standards must be exceptionally high. Food safety regulations require stainless steel equipment, regular cleaning and sanitization, temperature control, and strict protocols to prevent cross-contamination. Workers wear protective clothing, hairnets, and gloves, and they follow good manufacturing practices similar to those in any food processing facility. Modern mealworm processing plants increasingly use automated systems to minimize human handling and improve consistency. Conveyor belts move material between stations, sensors monitor weights and temperatures, and computerized controls adjust drying times, grinding speeds, and packaging parameters based on real-time data. After processing and quality control, the finished mealworm products move to the packaging area, where automated systems fill containers and prepare the products for storage and shipping. Packaging requirements vary dramatically depending on whether the product is destined for animal feed, pet food, or human consumption. Animal feed products might be packaged in large bulk bags holding 20 to 50 kilograms, similar to bags of grain or flour. These bags are typically made from woven polypropylene or paper, with moisture barriers to protect the contents during transportation and storage. Pet food products, particularly dried whole mealworms for birds or reptiles, are often packaged in smaller retail containers. Automated filling machines dispense precise amounts into plastic jars, resealable pouches, or cardboard boxes. Labeling systems print and apply labels with product information, nutritional data, feeding instructions, and regulatory compliance statements. For human food applications, packaging standards are more stringent. Mealworm protein powder might be packaged in sealed plastic or foil pouches with one-way valves that allow carbon dioxide to escape while preventing oxygen from entering. This protects the product from oxidation and extends shelf life. Some companies producing mealworm snacks or whole-roasted mealworms for human consumption use modified atmosphere packaging. This involves filling the package with inert gases like nitrogen to displace oxygen, preventing rancidity and maintaining freshness. The packages are then sealed and often placed in secondary packaging like cardboard boxes for additional protection. Labeling for human food products must meet strict regulatory requirements. In the United States, the Food and Drug Administration requires specific information, including ingredients, allergen warnings, and nutritional facts. Mealworms must be labeled as containing crustacean-like proteins because some people with shellfish allergies may also react to insect proteins. After packaging, the products move to storage facilities. Dried mealworm products are shelf-stable at room temperature, but many facilities use temperature-controlled warehouses to extend shelf life even further. Storage temperatures between 10 and 20 degrees Celsius are ideal, protecting the fats from oxidation and preventing moisture absorption. Distribution channels for mealworm products are diverse and growing. Animal feed manufacturers purchase bulk quantities to blend into poultry feed, aquaculture feed, or pet food formulations. Research shows that fish raised on insect-based feeds grow as well as or better than fish-fed traditional fish meal, and poultry-fed diets supplemented with mealworm protein show improved feather quality and egg production. The exotic pet industry is a major market, with millions of reptile, amphibian, and bird owners buying dried mealworms as treats or staple foods for their animals. These products move through pet store chains, online retailers, and specialty distributors. For human food applications, distribution is still developing in the United States, but it is expanding rapidly. Health food stores, online nutrition retailers, and specialty food companies sell mealworm protein powder, energy bars, pasta, and snacks. Some restaurants and food service operations are beginning to experiment with insect-based menu items, particularly in urban markets, where consumers are more adventurous. International shipping is also significant. The United States exports mealworm products to Europe, where consumer acceptance of insect protein is higher, and to Asia, where insect farming is growing rapidly but demand still exceeds supply in some regions. Logistics and shipping require careful planning. While dried mealworm products are stable, they must be protected from moisture, extreme temperatures, and physical damage during transport. Trucks, shipping containers, and warehouses must maintain appropriate conditions, and tracking systems monitor shipments from processing plant to final destination. Beyond the primary protein products, mealworm farming generates several valuable byproducts that contribute to the economic viability and sustainability of these operations. As mentioned earlier, the frass or insect waste collected during harvesting is an excellent organic fertilizer. Scientific studies show that insect frass contains beneficial microorganisms and natural compounds that promote plant growth and soil health. Cannabis growers particularly favor mealworm frass, claiming it improves yields and plant vigor. A single large mealworm farm might produce several tons of frass every week, and selling this material provides a secondary income stream. The shed exoskeletons or molts collected during harvesting contain chitin, a fibrous substance that has applications in medicine, cosmetics, and agriculture. Chitin can be processed into chitosan, which is used in water filtration, wound dressings, and as a dietary supplement. Some companies are exploring chitosan from insect sources as an alternative to chitosan derived from shellfish processing waste. Mealworm oil, extracted during processing, contains saturated and unsaturated fatty acids. The fatty acid profile is similar to palm oil in some respects, but without the environmental concerns associated with palm plantation agriculture. Cosmetics companies are testing mealworm oil in skincare products, and animal feed formulators add it to premium pet foods. In terms of culinary applications, whole roasted mealworms have a nutty, slightly earthy flavor that some compare to sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds. Chefs and food innovators use them in granola, chocolate bars, bread, crackers, and as crunchy toppings for salads or soups. Mealworm flour can replace a portion of wheat flour in baking, adding protein and creating a denser texture. Some pasta companies produce high-protein noodles using mealworm flour blended with durum wheat semolina. Protein powder made from mealworms dissolves in smoothies, shakes, or can be added to baked goods. The nutritional profile of mealworms is impressive. As mentioned, they are approximately 50% protein by dry weight. They also contain all 9 essential amino acids that humans need, making them a complete protein source comparable to meat, eggs, or dairy. The fat content of mealworms is about 30 to 40%, with a good balance of saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated fatty acids. They contain omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, though in different ratios than fish oil. Mealworms are also a source of vitamins and minerals. They provide B vitamins, particularly B12, which is often lacking in plant-based diets. Mineral content includes iron, zinc, copper, and magnesium. The bioavailability of these nutrients, meaning how easily the human body can absorb and use them, is generally good, though cooking and processing methods can affect this. One interesting nutritional consideration is that the composition of mealworms can be modified by changing their diet. Farmers who feed their mealworms omega-3 rich substrates can produce larvae with higher omega-3 content in their tissues. This dietary modification technique is similar to feeding flaxseed to chickens to create omega-3 enriched eggs. From an environmental perspective, mealworm farming has significant advantages over traditional livestock production. The land use efficiency is extraordinary. A facility producing 1 ton of mealworm protein per year might occupy less than 100 square meters of vertical growing space, while producing the same amount of beef protein could require several hectares of pasture or feed crop land. Water use is minimal compared to livestock. Mealworms get most of their moisture from their food, typically vegetables added to the growing trays. They do not require drinking water like cattle, pigs, or chickens. Estimates suggest that producing 1 kilogram of mealworm protein uses less than 100 liters of water, while producing 1 kilogram of beef protein can require 15,000 liters or more. Greenhouse gas emissions from mealworm farming are also much lower than traditional livestock. The insects produce small amounts of methane and carbon dioxide through their digestion and respiration, but nothing comparable to the methane emissions from cattle or the nitrous oxide from manure in pig and poultry operations. Feed conversion efficiency is another major advantage. Mealworms convert feed to body mass at a ratio of approximately 2 to 1, meaning 2 kilograms of feed produces 1 kilogram of mealworm biomass. By contrast, cattle require about 10 kilograms of feed to produce 1 kilogram of beef. This efficiency means less agricultural land is needed to grow, feed crops, and less energy is used in feed production and transportation. The waste from mealworm farming, primarily the frass, can be used directly as fertilizer with minimal processing, creating a circular system where nutrients return to crop production. This contrasts with livestock manure, which requires management to prevent water pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. However, mealworm farming is not without challenges. Initial infrastructure costs are high, requiring climate-controlled buildings, specialized equipment, and significant investment before production begins. Energy use for temperature control and processing can be substantial, particularly in regions with extreme climates. Consumer acceptance remains a barrier, especially in Western countries where eating insects is culturally unfamiliar. While younger generations and environmentally conscious consumers are more open to trying insect-based foods, many people remain skeptical or uncomfortable with the idea. Regulatory frameworks are still developing. The European Union has approved several insect species for human consumption, but regulations in the United States are less clear. The Food and Drug Administration has stated that insects can be used in food, but detailed guidelines and inspection protocols are still evolving. Despite these challenges, the mealworm farming industry continues to grow rapidly. Investment in insect protein companies has increased dramatically over the past 5 years, with both venture capital firms and traditional agricultural companies recognizing the potential of this sector. From breeding colonies of darkling beetles to finished protein powder on store shelves, the journey of mealworms through modern industrial farming demonstrates how innovation is transforming agriculture and food production. What once seemed impossible, raising billions of insects in controlled environments for food and feed, has become a thriving industry with facilities operating across North America, Europe, and Asia. These operations combine traditional farming knowledge with cutting-edge technology, using automated systems, climate control, and data analytics to produce sustainable protein at a scale that would have been unimaginable just a few decades ago. The entire process, from egg to harvest, takes approximately 3 months, and the efficiency of these systems allows continuous production year-round. A single large facility can produce several tons of dried mealworms every single day, providing protein for animal feed, pet food, and increasingly for human consumption. As global demand for protein continues to rise and concerns about environmental sustainability intensify, insect farming offers a viable path forward. Mealworms require a fraction of the resources needed for traditional livestock, produce minimal waste, and can be raised in urban or rural settings without the land requirements of cattle ranching or industrial chicken production. The technology continues to advance. Researchers are developing better feeds to optimize nutrition, breeding programs to create faster growing or more disease-resistant larvae, and processing methods to improve taste and texture for human food applications. Whether you view mealworms as the future of sustainable protein or simply as an interesting agricultural innovation, there is no denying the impressive scale and sophistication of modern insect farming. From warehouse breeding rooms to processing plants equipped with industrial machines, from quality control laboratories to automated packaging lines, these operations represent a new frontier in agriculture technology. Thank you for watching AgriCraft. If you found this exploration of mealworm farming fascinating, please give this video a like, subscribe to our channel for more content about American agriculture and food processing technology, and leave a comment below telling us what agricultural topic you would like us to cover next. Until next time, keep exploring the remarkable world of modern farming.